Welcome to the Leadership Art Podcast. I'm your host, Art Robbins, and it's great to have you join us. The Leadership Art Podcast features insightful conversations with industry leaders who lead with purpose. And our purpose is to inspire you to be the best leader you can be. So today's episode is a little different. Instead of our usual guest host conversation, I wanted to pause and share a few reflections of my own. After 2 seasons of the podcast and dozens of conversations with executives, founders, and change makers, I've had the opportunity to step back and really reflect on the patterns that keep showing up. What struck me most is this: the core challenges of leadership don't really change. The context changes, the technology changes, the norms and expectations change, but the principles, they endure. The same struggles leaders face today, indecision, culture breakdowns, fear of consequence, are the same struggles leaders faced generations ago, even centuries ago, which means there's real value in looking back at history in order to move forward. So I decided to go back, way back, and look for a leadership case study that still speaks to us today. And I found one in what many people might consider an unlikely place to look: Shakespeare's Hamlet. A professor once told me that nearly all modern storytelling traces back to Shakespeare, the greatest observer of human nature who ever lived. And Hamlet, in particular, is not just a literary masterpiece, it's a leadership tragedy, because it shows us what happens when intelligence is overtaken by indecision. For those not familiar with the story, Hamlet is the Prince of Denmark. His father, the king, is murdered. His mother, the queen, quickly remarries, and his uncle Claudius, now the new king, is both the murderer and his mother's new husband. And he rules surrounded by a corrupt court filled with minions and spies. What a soap opera! Well, this brings us to the first lesson, which is the cost of inaction. Hamlet is brilliant, introspective, philosophical. He sees the corruption. He knows the truth. He understands exactly what needs to be done. But he doesn't act. He stalls. And modern leaders fall into the same trap. You see the culture problem. You know the strategy is flawed. You recognize the toxic behavior. But you hesitate, waiting for one more certainty, more proof, one more data point. We've all seen this leadership tragedy in one form or another. And at some point, additional thinking doesn't increase clarity. Clarity is not the same thing as courage. Smart leaders rarely fail because they lack intelligence. They fail because they delay. To be or not to be isn't just poetry, it's paralysis. While Hamlet overthinks, events move on without him. His fear grows, his window closes, and ultimately, events overtake him. The same thing happens in business. Markets reward decisiveness more than perfection. Delays erode trust, invite competitors, and create uncertainty. Most organizational damage doesn't come from bad decisions. It comes from decisions made too late or not at all. The lesson isn't stop analyzing, though. The lesson is don't let analysis replace action. Set a decision clock. Know when it's time to act and have the courage to move forward, even if conditions aren't perfect, because they never will be. Next, don't tolerate the early signs of bad culture. Early in the play, a line is spoken. Something is rotten in the state of Denmark. Hamlet knows this long before he can prove it. Claudius surrounds himself with people who crave proximity to power. Those who see the corruption tolerate it. And over time, the rot spreads, quietly, gradually, until it becomes the culture itself. The ceremonies remain polished. The optics stay impressive, but underneath, trust is gone. Ask yourself honestly, does your internal culture match your external narrative? From the outside, things may look strong. Great messaging, confident leadership, impressive metrics, but inside, is candor missing? Are people afraid to speak up? Are the wrong behaviors quietly being rewarded? Culture doesn't collapse overnight. It erodes one tolerated compromise at a time. Great cultures, on the other hand, are built on psychological safety, honest feedback, and mutual respect. When people feel genuinely valued, performance follows. So does loyalty, so does trust. The leader sets the standard, not with what they say, but with their actions and what they tolerate. The next lesson is leave a legacy. There's a graveyard scene late in the play where Hamlet holds the skull of Yorick, the court jester he loved as a child, and reflects what remains after we're gone. Alas, poor Yorick. It's a haunting image and a useful one. Every leadership tenure ends. The question isn't whether you'll leave, it's what will you leave behind. Great leaders think beyond their time in the seat. Great leaders build organizations stronger than they found them. They develop people, not power structures. They create capability, not dependency. They make decisions with an eye on the long-term durability, not the short-term optics. That's the legacy that earns lasting respect, not just from shareholders, from the people who carry the torch after you. So in closing, Hamlet isn't tragic because he lacks intelligence. He's tragic because his intelligence never becomes action. His brilliance becomes his burden. And that is the quiet risk facing so many leaders today. Not incompetence, not ignorance, but hesitation. So I'll leave you with one question. What decision are you avoiding right now that you already know you need to make? Intelligence may earn you the seat, but decisive integrity is what keeps you from falling into the Hamlet trap. And you have the choice to step out of it, starting today. So that's it for now. Let me know what you think of today's Leadership Art article. React, comment, and share your own experiences. And as always, thank you for listening and for your ongoing support. So until the next episode of the Leadership Art Podcast, this is your host, Art Robbins. And remember, it's your lead.